Today, 810 years ago, the Magna Carta was signed. So, for most Britons, a world without the rules of Magna Carta seem unthinkable. Evidence being presented publicly, a chance to defend yourself, a trial by your peers in a jury, being fairly arrested and detained. These are all concepts that come down from Magna Carta. The truth is Magna Carta was for the barons, and Magna Carta has been trimmed and chopped and changed substantially over the years. Magna Carta was agreed between King John and a group of rebellious barons in June 1215. At first glance, it's a medieval political settlement rather than a declaration of liberty. Many of the clauses dealt with specific disputes at the time, and most have gone out of law over time as well. But a handful of principles survived, and those principles shaped not just Britain but most of the democratic world. The idea that the king, that the government was not above the law, that power had limits. The concept sounds obvious today, but in the 13th century it was revolutionary. Now, to be fair, a lot of historians argue Magna Carta's importance is over-exaggerated. Even in primary schools, when they teach Magna Carta, they do teach that it's not just as simple as it was for everyone and we've got all those rules today. It didn't establish universal voting rights, didn't create parliament as we know it. Most people in medieval England saw little immediate benefit. Its reputation has maybe outgrown its original purpose. And there's some truth in that. But many liberties we enjoy today, although they developed centuries later, developed from that seed of liberty. It doesn't mean Magna Carta is irrelevant. It's more important than ever. The most famous surviving clause is Clause 39. No free man shall be imprisoned, dispossessed, outlawed, exiled, or otherwise punished, except by the lawful judgment of his equals, or by the law of the land. Now, this wasn't trial by jury as we understand it today, which is fortunate, as soon we won't have trial by jury. But it did establish a vital principle. Governments couldn't simply punish people on a whim. There had to be legal process. So when people say something mean online, or they march in protest or in anger that the government's ignoring something, there has to be a process for you to lock them up and apply two-tier justice. But concepts from Magna Carta are central to British society. The idea that the law should apply regardless of wealth, status or political influence. That equal justice under the law is available to everyone are foundations of modern Britain. Without that, it's not really Britain, is it? Obviously, it's not applied perfectly. Get stopped unfairly for a traffic offence, and you'll just plead guilty and pay the fine. Got quite a bit of money? You'll get a very good lawyer, and you probably get off. And there are differences in sentencing outcomes, but don't worry, they won't send some people to prison just to make sure that they address that. Not to do with guilt or harm, but they'll put their thumb on the scales of justice. Not a very Magna Carta system, is it? The greatest threat to Magna Carta's legacy isn't that it will be repealed. Many of the protections have been. Many were a bit random, really. It's principles gradually becoming taken for granted. Rights that seemed permanent weakening over time. Governments naturally seeking greater powers during a crisis, which they then never relinquish. Public pressure encouraging faster actions rather than stronger safeguards. Yet history repeatedly shows why legal protections matter. The question isn't whether we trust today's government. The question is whether we want protections that apply regardless of who holds power. And Magna Carta, at its heart, did that. If Magna Carta teaches us anything, it's that liberty requires maintenance. Legal education, needs to place greater emphasis on Britain's constitutional history. Policymakers should carefully examine proposals that reduce due process protections. There used to be lawyers in Parliament who did that, but these days they lose the whip. Public debate should focus not on outcomes, but also on procedures. A just society cares about both. And I believe that institutions such as jury trials should be preserved unless there's overwhelming evidence that alternatives provide equal protection against state power. And frankly, the last 2 years have shown me that without protection, the state will apply its power. Magna Carta wasn't perfect. It wasn't a modern Bill of Rights. It wasn't a democratic manifesto. But it introduced ideas that changed history, that rulers are subject to law, that justice requires process, and that individuals possess protections against arbitrary powers. 8 centuries later, those principles remain at the heart of British liberty, and it's just as important as ever that those protections are secured.